The following is a production of Fenix Media. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the company or its advertisers and may contain language that's unsuitable for younger listeners.
To the You Bet Your Arse podcast, where we cover the week's biggest sports bets.
We can't even say it.
It's
we could change the spelling, but we can't even say it. Yeah, we can say it.
I'll touch on it here in just a second. But we are broadcasting live from the National Automobile Museum here in downtown Reno. Beautiful, beautiful area to walk through. So many cool classic cars. If you want to see them for yourself, if you want information or tickets, head over to automuseum.org. Now, I'm Kristian Fenix, and with me is the Steve Kerr to my Marv Albert. Boy, words are hard today. The G-Man.
Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr. Yeah. I like Steve Kerr.
I do too. I like Marv Albert. I mean, aside from the biting.
Marv has some history.
He's got some.
He likes biting.
Don't judge. No. Let's not judge. We all got our things.
Ow!
So true.
So before we get going, and of course, we are joined by Oliver X and Shaun O'Harra, who we've had the privilege of joining us the last 2 episodes, and it's always fun to have you guys on.
Yeah.
Of course, it was all the lead up to the Super Bowl, and of course, we're going to talk a little bit about how that played out. But before we get there, a little bit of housekeeping. Obviously, as the G-Man alluded to, I mentioned You Bet Your Arse because Mark Zuckerberg is not a big fan of the word ass. So in pushing the show out, promoting it through social media, Facebook has basically said, you can't say ass anywhere in the title. I don't know about physically in the show because, we just said it. But, when we're putting the descriptions together. So the name of the show is now You Bet Your Arse. Because apparently we are British, on the British side of Northern Nevada.
We'll have to roll with it.
So let me get this straight. I can have like an OnlyFans page and have God knows what. But if you say ass in the title, it's a problem.
Well, you can't push your OnlyFans page to Facebook.
See? I'm learning things.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know.
I don't know. I think there's something there. Zuckerberg he's anti-ass.
Maybe he's a leg man.
There you go. The funny thing is when you go looking for it, there's no list of actual terms or words that you can and cannot use. So it's a little bit of trial and error.
Yeah.
Last week I put arse in there and sure enough, it worked. So,
hey, all right. Well,
so we're going to play with that a little
We'll
bit.
water things down sometimes.
The other thing, if you're a regular listener, you'll notice I didn't say a Patreon exclusive podcast because we're looking at changing things around a little bit, giving you guys the show for free in its entirety. And you know what? If things work out, if things sound good, if you guys win a little bit of money, all we ask is that you donate a few bucks. And if you know a company or a business that would want to sponsor or advertise, reach out to us. And, we've got some packages and make it worth their while.
Okay. So we're putting out a bucket now.
Exactly.
We're kind of sports busking.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. It'd be a bucket, a hat, a guitar case.
Yeah, let's do it.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
But, with all that being said, it's one of those things that, you can go the subscription route, and a lot of sports betting shows do go that way. Mm-hmm. But, we get a lot of exposure through the free methods. In fact, we had over 15,000 impressions on our show last week.
Yeah, I like giving away love for free.
Yeah.
Me too.
It's always, when you charge for it, it's hard to discern, what price you should charge and stuff. So,
and so all we ask is, you win a few bucks, you buy us a burger.
Yeah. I like burgers too.
Well, we do have limited time with Oliver today, so we wanted to touch quickly on the Super Bowl, obviously the events that took place, some of the prop bets, and then, I think G-Man and I have some bragging rights to tell you guys, we told you so. It wasn't a Rams blowout.
It was not.
They covered.
You guys were actually
Bengals
scared there
covered the
for a
spread.
while.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
After that first possession, the second half, subsequently punting the ball.
The no call and the turnover were key to my stress.
Yeah. Yeah.
My disquiet.
Yeah. And do you remember I also said, as simple as it sounds, it's going to come down to not just the obvious third down, percentage, but key fourth downs. And that's exactly what happened. A couple of key fourth downs, Yeah.
First possession.
And last.
Yeah.
By the Bengals.
Yeah. First and last. Unbelievable.
So good stuff. So Oliver, take us through it.
Yeah.
Tell us about your experience with the Rams finally getting the chip.
Let me work backwards from yesterday. In one of the more sparsely attended parades in sports history.
They had a parade?
The Rams had a parade, oddly, around USC and the downtown area, which is not their base.
Mm-hmm.
So it was odd. It was a reach, but there were thousands, tens of thousands, maybe.
Wow.
Something beyond hundreds and scores.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a little bit, it didn't pass the eye test, but it seemed like they had a great time. I was thinking of what is Stan Kroenke thinking about his $5 billion investment for, a 20,000 fan return.
His response was probably, "I'm so excited we won the Super Bowl."
He is deadpan, monotone, robotic. Yeah.
Now I have
This guy's a former teacher.
Right. He used to dye his mustache. So what can you say? The guy is an interesting owner, but I was elated. I thought that Ramsey clearly puts himself in the overrated category at this point because what he does typically, if he can't jump the route, he'll defend from behind, and his closing speed is so tremendous that he usually makes up with a deflection or
his long. You're talking about Ramsey, right?
Ramsey.
And his long arms, man.
That's how he facilitates that. Because I've watched almost every snap this year, and he's been beat a handful of times by each top receiver.
Yeah.
Debo, Mike Evans, and he was destroyed in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and that happens though.
He was destroyed
with DBs that have the capability to jump on a route and take it to the
Marcus
take it to the
Peters
house.
does this. A lot of guys do that. They did
gamble,
and they're Pro Bowlers. They jump routes, but he didn't have many interceptions this year. He did make up for his being beat, by shutting him down in the red zone and really having a pick in the end zone that he dropped.
What about that? What were you doing when Ty Higgins did the face mask and that he got away with? What did you do? Did you jump up?
I was more upset than Ramsey. It seemed like, because Ramsey was like, "What?
Yeah,
like what?
You didn't see that?
And the ref on the line on the side, he was completely out of position because how it worked was you couldn't see it.
Yeah,
because
it was to the inside.
He could not see that, and it was so stealth. It was one of the best offensive interferences, non-calls I've ever seen.
Yeah,
and it was tremendous for them. But so it evened out as far as the refs. If you're a Cincinnati fan, you don't be that mad because you got a free gimme. But I thought it came down to the defense playing 4 quarters.
Yeah,
and an amazing, epic, potentially Hall of Fame earning drive in the fourth. With a no-look pass that will go down in the ages. It was rather subtle because I didn't notice it in real game time. But when you looked at it, the way he looked off, Stafford, that was amazing. And he threaded the needle. It was on a rope. And you saw his hand motion guide the ball to where it ended up being.
Yeah.
And I had never seen his technique so well executed because people rave about Mahomes doing it. And Mahomes is a little bit more exaggerated about it.
Right.
But this was a more surgical strike.
Yeah. So Oliver, back to the "I told you so" theme. One of the reasons that I thought that the Bengals would kind of hang and keep it a close game with the Rams, and again, I would not have been surprised if the Bengals, actually pulled it out, and the game bore out that it could have happened if not for that last drive. But talk about again the layered defense of the Bengals. Defensive front, the linebackers and the secondary, how they're underrated, how they frustrated your Rams, and then secondly, comment on how appropriate it was for Aaron Donald to end the game.
Yeah, they came in knowing that they make adjustments, and then they took a lead, and so they could play from ahead, and that emboldened them. But they were run stoppers throughout the game. And so when you look at their size on defense was impressive, and their penetration on the line,
right?
Hendrickson,
they played.
They came to play, and they played like they had a chip.
It was almost like you're exactly right. They had a little chip on their shoulder, and I think because so much attention was given to the Rams defense,
they were like,
specifically
what about us?
Aaron Donald, and then Hendrickson, that dude's a beast.
And Hilton, because Hilton, as a slot corner, best in the game.
Yeah.
Best in the game.
So I also think that OBJ coming out of the game early is what kept the game so close.
It made the Rams
That's
one-dimensional.
a good point.
I think he would have had 200 yards.
You should have saw what happened on the in play. Like right when OBJ went out of the game.
OBGYN. Yeah. right.
Sometimes
right when he came out of his stirrups.
Sometimes he does, kind of stay on the ground a little bit too long. But yeah, once that happened, the money line for the Bengals to win went down like 60 points.
Did it really? Wow.
Oh yeah, it went from like plus 160 to like a plus 110, even money. And then of course he never returned. It was a fun game.
So I've got to ask, for me it's sort of a toss up, but the true Super Bowl MVP, was it Cooper Kupp or was it not Sam Darnold? Aaron Donald.
No, not Sam Darnold.
Aaron Donald.
I think I'll turn it over to Oliver. I think that by and large the game that Aaron Donald was supposed to have, based on all of us talking heads on TV and stuff like that, it didn't happen. I think that the Bengals offensively, they controlled him a little bit more with running away from him. Sometimes when they ran at him, he ran past the play. And so he still had a great game. He had an impactful game because he still had a good number of sacks. I can't remember exactly what it was, but the way that it ended was real appropriate because they game planned around avoiding him, so that just in itself, speaks volumes of what kind of player he is.
Their defensive coordinator called a great game.
That's what I was going to say.
I mean, they really schemed up well against the Rams. They played over their heads, and they played with confidence, and they played with a chip. Yeah. But I will say that defense might win championships. But what happened was, in my opinion, you saw the offensive will of the Rams' two best offensive players on full display. You saw the unguardability of Cooper Kupp, his route running prowess, his really focus in the moment. He had visualized this, and you saw the programming of the Rams culture play, because what they did was they closed the game, they finished, and that was the mantra after Week 18. The Rams just got to finish. And what they did from every playoff game thereafter, they finished games. And because that was the mantra, that was the adjustment that not only that they made after a 3-game skid, but what they did after Week 18 was they decided that they needed to focus on closing, finishing, and playing 4 quarters. And that, I watched them. They conserved, even though the motor was high, they conserved. It's very strategic. When you think about guys that are high motor, you think that they don't pace themselves, but that's not really true. They don't take plays off, but they definitely pace themselves because it is hard to run a sprint against resistance and against 340 pounds.
Yep.
An object in motion is 3 to 10 times its static weight.
Yeah.
So when you think about what physical forces were happening, I watched them turn it up to boil in that fourth. Actually, after he pushed, the tone of the game changed after he did a hard push, Donald, on the sideline against Burrow. He got chippy, and then he said, "Okay."
Yeah,
and they got 9. They something like 9 scrimmage yards plus minus thereafter. It was something crazy like that.
Yeah,
17 of the on that one curl route that that Chase had, again beating Ramsey.
Yeah,
but give props to Morris, the defensive coordinator. I thought he had those guys in position, especially in that fourth quarter.
Raheem,
to make sure,
Yeah.
and they took away their weapons. It was, and hats off to McVay. You lose OBJ, you could lose your team, your focus, their energy. And he, whatever he did, his adjustments, I thought he did a good job.
Yeah. If they've lost their focus and attention in the Super Bowl, I'd be pretty disappointed, no matter what the situation, would be. But and as far as the receiving thing, I think you're correct. Having formerly played the position, you definitely pace yourself, because from a route running aspect of it, you're of course trying to deceive the DB into thinking you're not doing. You want to go where the opposite is, that you ultimately end up. And so those plays that you do take off, you do if it's like, say, a running play across the field, they took away the crack back block. And so it's not really the type of thing where a receiver will beeline over there, hope the running back cuts back inside, and then they get able to blast a guy, coming back. So you take some plays off, you do to kind of pace your energy. Yeah. And then that could come into play later on, because if they have like a stop and go, or a delay where you take off, then that pacing yourself actually comes into play to get you open. So it's a part of your energy management, part of the strategy and stuff like that. But I think to finish, Kristian's point, we got a couple more minutes with Oliver. I think we talked about this in our thread. I thought that they was going to default to Stafford, and when they gave it to Kupp, I thought it was really deserved, because those key parts of the game, not just the receiving part, but remember that little reverse on fourth down. Yep. The dude.
Oh, the jet sweep.
He
made his cut at the right time.
Just key, moments of the game. Decent amount of yards. It's nowhere. It didn't break 100 yards. But they were so important every time that he caught the ball. And lastly, the difficulty with covering him was glaringly obvious when they finally, at that point, they started flagging these guys, because when he would cut across that linebacker, he grabbed him. Which is definitely inhibiting him. So it was actually a good call. You kind of, we made the comment, it's too bad the refs got involved in a game that was fairly, just, it was clean. Total. It was clean, up to that point. So, Cooper Kupp, congratulations. That dude is something special. I think he's kind of like Edelman, but he's better, at this point, at this young stage of his career. He's doing some things I think that Julian didn't do until later,
His run after catch.
Yeah.
He's way more physical.
It's impressive.
Yeah. At 6'2", 220.
Yeah.
He's deceptively quick.
Yeah.
Even at 4'6" and the 40, because he is determined, and he's very deceptive. He's slippery. He's well coached and well
slippery.
He's a coach on the field too.
His routes are tight. And Jerry Rice would tell you don't have to be fast if you can get in and out of your break.
He's got that little shimmy. We used to call it a snake move. You know what I mean? Where his legs are continuing to go, but there's just this little wiggle. And Jamar Chase actually has a little bit of that too. He's got a little bit of subtlety to him with getting open. Yeah. So
I think what ultimately separates Kupp from the rest of the pack is a lot of superstar receivers only play the passing downs.
Yeah,
you see them on a running down and they half-ass it. Cooper plays all out every single down, especially on the running downs, to make sure that he blocks where he needs to block.
And he can be put in the slot. He can be put wide out. He can be put in the jet sweep or the backfield. So he's the most versatile. I think he's basically the white Deebo Samuel. I mean, just to say it, because he's hard to tackle.
Not as strong, but the run after catch is
And it's crazy to think that guy had 0 offers to play college football.
Yeah.
You can't see that stuff.
Eastern Washington, Eastern Wazoo.
Right. So before we let Oliver go, really quick, touching on the Super Bowl, obviously G-Man's numbers were right on as far as covering the spread.
We got lucky.
Bengals plus 4.5.
Yeah.
And I told you I smelled a rat. I think, that was going to be a close game, but everybody was on the Rams.
Well, that one guy who won, I wonder if he took the points, the dude that put $4 to $5 million on. Did you find out if he won?
If he bet the points,
he won.
He did. But if he took money line, he was crying.
Yeah, I want to find out.
I thought it was money line. I thought when we talked about
outright?
that, I thought it was that they were going to win outright.
Jeez.
I don't know. That's just you can't. Bet
And you
like
know
that.
another. You guys are gonna laugh at this. Another reason that just kind of like slammed it. Okay, I'm going to take the Bengals. Is years ago, one of the Simpsons episodes had the Bengals and the Rams together. The Bengals won
my
34-31.
These guys are amazing, dude.
Predicting.
The Simpsons are,
How did you get rich? I got my stock tips off the Simpsons.
Family Guy too. Guys, what a game it was, though. I thought it was entertaining. Halftime show, amazing. A little bit disappointed in the commercials, but I like the Sopranos one.
Yeah, that was good.
There were a few good ones, but we can save that for a whole nother show.
Cool, guys. Thanks so much.
Oliver X, marketing director at Arttown. Is it arttown.org?
Arttown.org. ARTONO.org. Yep.
Check it out. And hopefully we'll have you back in some upcoming weeks.
Can't wait,
Working on
can't wait.
stuff for July already.
All right,
Awesome.
guys.
Yeah.
All
He's
right.
leaving me hanging here. All right, guys. All right, I'll come around. Thanks, guys.
Much love, man.
Cool.
All right, so we've lost Oliver X, but you still have the three of us here to talk about this week's bets. Now, before we get into that, a couple disclaimers as we do each and every week. Of course, the suggestions that we make on the show are for informational and entertainment purposes only. If you are struggling with gambling addiction, think you might have a problem, we definitely recommend seeking out professional help. It's one of those things that, if you can afford to lose the money, great. If you can't, don't do it.
Yeah, even before, if you don't want to talk to somebody, you could find some tests. I mean, just Google, do I have a gambling problem? And there's things that you could find, and take some questions and be honest and sit in your own space and, make some choices,
Exactly.
It's a real thing, it's a real
Absolutely.
thing. There's definitely some, endorphins, I call it the juice. When you have a little exciting bet, everything's on the line, and, but yeah, everything in moderation. Make sure that this is a form of entertainment. So again, as we've said before, it's no different than if you skied, or played golf,
Right,
whatever
go to
your
the
little
movies.
hobbies are. Yeah. You know what I mean? That is something that you have in your budget with discretionary income. And after you go to the movies, you don't, sit there in a cold house saying, damn, I wish I would have paid my heating bill instead of going to the movies.
Top ramen again.
Yeah. So
Had to get the milk duds, man.
but if you do go over the line and you kind of ascertain that maybe I do have a problem, there are definitely sources out there that you can talk to. Won't cost you anything. And
And then the other disclaimer we like to give is talking in play. So a lot of the sports betting apps, especially the William Hill app, gives you the opportunity to make changes on the fly in the middle of a game or a match based on quarter, period, half, whatever it may be, because the information that we do give you is up to date as of mid-Thursday. Things change.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we're into basketball and hockey season, what we're giving you guys is almost immediate information today and tomorrow games, but that doesn't mean that things can't still change.
yeah, and also some of the things that we put down, the point spreads have not been released yet. So if we're here on Thursday, if there's a Friday or Saturday game, it may swing, from what, that we put out there. So ultimately just consider some of those things.
Right on. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of things. Since it is basketball season, we figured we'd give you guys 4 NCAA matchups, 4 NBA matchups. You even threw in a 2-team parlay for the NBA. And then a little bit later, we'll get into our sports betting for dummies, where we try our hand at hockey betting. So that should be interesting. Yes.
Hey,
So first up on the docket is Michigan at Iowa. You've got Iowa -5 by the hook. That game is later today at 4 p.m., right around the time that this show will be coming out. So that's where in play is going to be really crucial if you're listening to this as you're watching the game.
Yeah, you may be able to get a better line. Right now, it's at 5 this morning before I came here. And interestingly enough, the Michigan-Purdue game, we picked Michigan last time, and that came through Shaun.
Yep.
And so this time we're going against Michigan. We have Michigan on the road against Iowa. My notes here, looks Keegan Murray from Iowa, just a 37-point career high this past Sunday. It was the second straight game with at least 30 points, and Iowa just steamrolled Nebraska. I think shoot more than 20 points at home, and so they're at home again. The Hawkeyes are 17-7, 7-6 in the Big Ten, and they again playing a Michigan team that they are 13-10, but the Iowa offense, Shaun, is number 5.
Yep.
Nationally. And I'm just thinking that 5.5. I think that that Iowa's won their last 3 games by 10 points or more. So looking at this right here, 5 points by the hook. Down to 4.5. Make sure you have a decision maker, and I like their chances. What do you think?
I agree, and I think the other thing, what Iowa's at home, so they're going to have Big Ten home court advantage is huge.
Yep.
And I think Iowa, Michigan's physical, but I think Iowa will be a lot more physical, especially underneath the rim. You're going to see, I think Iowa have a lot of second chance, third chance opportunities at buckets where Michigan might not. If Michigan gets hot shooting, could be a different story, but they've been streaky there.
Yeah. So, live or die by the 3.
So
they probably got all their 3 points out of their system against Purdue.
I think that for the season.
They were on fire,
right? All right. Next game on the docket is Butler at St. John's. That game is tomorrow, which is Friday at 2 p.m. St. John's is at home. It doesn't look like they've released the point spread yet, but it looks like you are favoring St. John's in this matchup.
Yeah, it's looking like these guys just played. It's looking like 13 days ago. In Indiana, and St. John's on the road came away with a 75-72 winner. So it was a pretty close game, and it was a pick'em. So in this game, I'm anticipating that St. John's is going to be probably favored by about 3 at home, based on the fact that they do have history like 13 days ago. It was a pick'em then, and since St. John's beat them by 3, and it could maybe be as much as 5. But I still like St. John's, even if it goes up to 5. And this was a tough one, too, because I like Butler. I historically have done very well, betting on Butler. They, against as a road underdog this year, they're 4-2 against the spread. So that caused me pause, right? At first, I was kind of like, ooh, the Butler team, 4-2, you know what I mean? It's kind of like a no-brainer. But upon further inspection, these underdog games that they were covering 4-2, they were still losing those matchups, every single one.
No kidding.
By more than 10 points.
Okay.
So they were getting more than 10 points, but covering the spread. And so if, again, they're losing on the road by more than 10 points, and that happens here, that's why, again, I kind of flipped and went with St. John's.
Just to anticipate, where would you see the money line on this one?
It'd probably be like St. John, like -170, okay. I would think, something like that, -180, a little bit better than half of your money risk. And I would,
just because they are such a big favor.
Yeah. Either, this one I would just go ahead and bet before the game with the point spread, because then you're looking at a -110 instead of a -170, or just take a chance, wait on the, in play and hope that on the road, Butler would come out and kind of get a lead, 8-2, 10-2, something like that. And then you're just going to get a much better number with St. John's and just have it locked and loaded and ready to bang it.
Makes a whole lot of sense. Shaun, any insight into that game?
Well, I think one thing, when I think of St. John's basketball, I think coming to America. Yes. In the basket. No, but, Big East basketball, one thing that's great about Big East basketball.
Is Chris Mullen still the coach there?
I think so.
Man, and I like Chris Mullen. I didn't even factor that in. So,
but Big East, it's fast. They play fast basketball. It's get up and down the court. So I think to me, it'll be just one of those things. If St. John's can, transition, if they get buckets in transition, they'll have a good night. So
yeah. So yeah, we'll see on that one. But I like it. I had to flip on that one.
All right, let's go to the next matchup, which is Pennsylvania at Yale. That game is Friday at 4 p.m. Yale is a heavy favorite in that game, and of course, it looks like you're favoring them as well. Very much along the same lines as St. John's Butler, or are you giving Pennsylvania a little bit more of a chance?
Are they a heavy favorite? What do you mean? Did they have a line on that yet? Because that's tomorrow.
Just through ESPN's matchup predictor. Yale's
What do they
favored
have
at
on that?
75%.
Oh, 75%. That's just a straight up win.
That's
yes.
a straight up win.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I anticipate, again, this game, is going to, it may be down to a pick 'em, because here's what's been going on. These guys are actually, they're not tearing it up. Yale's 14-9 and Penn's only 11-12. But in Ivy League, it's been a long time, Shaun, since I've made or bet on an Ivy League game.
The only time I ever bet Ivy League is when it's in the March Madness. It's one of those teams make
Remember
it.
back in the day, in the March Madness, Princeton, was it Princeton that they had this really slow zone defense, that they would that they would put out there, and even offensively, man, they would just milk that shot clock until 5 seconds are left every single time, and so they were just gold for unders.
Yeah, well, they actually, I think they did some damage that year in that tournament, just for the simple fact is they shortened the game.
Yeah,
they really shortened the game. So
yeah, that's right.
I mean, when I heard this game, you guys were picking it, I was like, we're doing spelling bees too? Or?
But check out these angles. So straight up for the last 9 games, Yale is 8-1, and they're just coming off in their last 9 games, and they're coming off a 25-point blowout win over Columbia. So they're playing pretty well. But Penn's been hot too. They've won 5 straight, 8 out of 10. Penn is 8-2 against the spread in these last 10 games. So that just whoa, but here I'm just going to go with the home team. Okay. Because the home team in this series has dominated. Okay. I mean, the home team, where is it? The home team has won 6 straight times, and the road team has not won in this series since 2016.
And you have a feeling it'll be right around a straight up pick 'em.
Yep. And then Yale is 8-2 straight up at home this year. So the factor that the home team's winning in the series, Yale's actually backing that up by being 8-2 straight up. That I just like them to win here. And the last thing is their mascots, the Bulldogs. Fresno State Bulldogs, CSM Bulldogs.
So is Butler, but you picked against them. So.
Oh man, that's true. Okay, we'll see how that one plays out.
Yeah, but I'm with Shaun on this
good
one. When I think Yale, I think of stuffy white guys with tube socks up to their knees.
George Bush, senior.
Hey,
did Junior go there too?
Probably.
No.
I think. Where was he at? He was Skull and Crossbones.
That's that's what I think about, old ritual, white guy, college stuff.
Where did he go? George Bush Jr. went somewhere.
Was it? I thought it was SMU.
Yeah. He did some cocaine.
You're listening to President Talk with.
Hey, this is not debatable. This is true information. This is no conspiracy theory stuff. Yeah,
that went down a dark path.
Right?
Yeah, I'm just saying they're all people.
We're gonna have Men in Black showing up.
That would be fun. I told you we need to start filming some of these things.
Right. All right, and then finally on the NCAA matchups, you've got Cleveland State headed to Milwaukee. It looks like you're favoring Cleveland State, who in the matchup predictor, they are favored to win as a 71.8% favorite. The only non-home team that you've picked so far, but explain where you're at.
Yeah, the couple nights ago, Cleveland State almost had this big upset over Purdue Fort Wayne. It wasn't the Purdue Fort Wayne, but so it went to triple overtime. It was pretty amazing to watch. I was checking it out, but they are Cleveland State's 5-0 straight up, 4-1 against the spread their last 5 games after a loss. So I like that angle a lot. You know what I mean? So they come back focused after a loss. That includes an 83-45 win last Saturday after a Thursday loss to Illinois Chicago. So that's the dealio on that one. Milwaukee is just 2-6 against the spread in their last 8 games overall. So those are the little things, statistical things that sometimes you can have a predisposition before the point spreads are even released, and this is one of those. And then in this case, when you do that as a sports bettor, you put the pressure on the dudes that are making the line.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So you can influence the final line.
Well, I don't know about influencing, but you can take, you know how this is an educated guess, because that's what you want to be, is you just want to be kind of uniform and, not overthink things, too much. And once you get some good data, like that, then you just do it.
Makes a whole lot
just
of sense.
Do it.
Comments on Cleveland State?
Well, I think, Horizon League is always a pretty tough league. I think Milwaukee just beat Green Bay by 10 the other night. And I think that's kind of like an in-state rivalry deal. So you might have a little bit of a letdown, but I think Cleveland State's definitely the tougher team coming in the matchup, and I'd go Cleveland State too.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like, I think that, again, like, so as a measuring stick, I think that Cleveland State should probably get into double digits, home games against Northern Kentucky. They won by more than 10, Detroit. And I think, they should handle these guys. So if you especially get a line less than 10, just get all over it.
All right. Well, that does it for college basketball talk. Let's head into the NBA, where this evening the Mavericks take on the Pelicans. You've got the Pelicans +3 by the hook. That's a 5 p.m. game. And it looks like, you're going with the underdog with the Pelicans to cover just within 3 points. I'm interested on how you got there.
Yeah, let me just click my notes here. Okay, NBA. All right. So the point spread on this one is +3. So this one, again, who's the alpha male with the Pelicans?
Ingram.
Ingram, yeah. So I don't have any notes on him right here. Here's the thing. 36, the defense is only allowed 36.2% on 3-pointers, And so, the Pelicans are not bad, as far as like playing hard.
So you think
at home
limit Doncic to some degree?
And and I think this is, again, not one to bet the farm on. But when I saw that it was like only 3 points instead of 6 points, I started searching, because it's like, just like I smell a rat here.
Right,
something's going on. They know something that I don't think the average fan knows, and I would consider myself the average fan, and I don't know. I don't know why it's not like 6 or 7, points right here. But 3 points, I'm going to take it by the hook, and see what happens. What do you think, Shaun?
Well, I think the interesting thing is you got CJ McCollum just came over from Portland. So you're going to have Zion, you have Ingram, now you got McCollum. Dallas just jettisoned Kristaps Porzingis. And so really you just got Luka. So, I think the Pelicans are a tough team. And I definitely think they do play hard. They do play good D. I could see them winning outright. So
yeah, and looking at some other things as far as Dallas goes, they're only averaging like 106 points a game, which is 24th in the league.
Not solid.
You know what I mean? So you have a solid defense, you have an offense that's right there, and then the Mavericks. We talked about how the Pelicans are really good at defending from 3 points, 3-point line. The Mavericks are only connecting on 34% of their shots as a team from 3 points, and so everything seems like it would be played, if they want to have more success, it's going to be played inside, the 3-point line.
Okay.
Otherwise, they're just going to be banging their heads against the wall, what it looks like statistically here.
And it's interesting. I mean, if you look at the records, it doesn't match up to the way the teams are playing.
Yeah.
I sort of attribute the Mavericks to being the nicest house on the ugliest block in the division. And then Pelicans are kind of the opposite. They're the nicest house in the ugliest neighborhood.
This is a perfect example of where the average person would go up to a sportsbook window and say, okay, the Pelicans or the Mavericks. Oh, initially it's just like the Mavericks. I'll take the Mavericks.
Right.
They're the better team. They're 34-24. The other team's 23-35, and you just automatically do it. And then again, Mavericks, if they win, pull out by 1, 2, or 3 point. And you're like, damn, I got the right team, but I lost my bet.
Yeah.
So the NBA is tough, man. No betting allowed in a general sense. You know what I mean? So again, as I like to try to find the spots where I'm taking points, knowing that the guys that set the number kind of fudge it just a little bit, knowing that the general public just defaults in general to the favorite.
Absolutely.
So,
all right. Next up in our NBA matchups, you've got Miami headed against the Hornets for a 4 p.m. game today. Miami -5.5. And how do you see that one playing out?
Yeah, this one I feel a little bit better as far as like laying the points between these two teams. The Charlotte Hornets, they, again, man, I'm just getting into this. I apologize by not actually being so familiar with the rosters, as much as certainly as Shaun is. But,
of course,
they're
changed so recently for a lot of teams.
Trade deadline. Yeah, absolutely.
And so it looks like Charlotte, looking at my evaluation here, they have like they're 29-30 on the season. So far as an offensive unit, they're shooting 45.7 from the floor, which has them ranked 16th, so they're right there. They could certainly upset some teams, and they have. As a matter of fact, I think not too long ago, I think they had about a 4 or 5 game winning streak, and were playing very well. So the Heat, of course, you got Jimmy Butler. Those guys they were in the conference championship last year, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And so of course they're wanting to get back there. I think that here, I think pretty much this 5.5 points is like pretty much a bet on Jimmy Butler. I mean, he's, I think against this team, I'm just feeling go ahead and lay those points, on this, and we'll see what happens. What do you think, Shaun?
Well, one thing, it's the Martin brothers playing against each other, the twins from Nevada.
Oh, that's right.
And so,
that's pretty cool. They don't have anything like that listed here. I'm not getting any kind of Wolfpack love.
We don't, but
not from the national stage. Yeah,
but you look at the Miami Heat and how they're built. I mean, Caleb Martin just played his way out of a 2-way contract into he got a full contract with Miami. He's been a huge piece for them. Victor Oladipo has been playing great for him. You obviously Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, they got the pieces. Our last show, I said I could see them winning the East.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, when you look at the Hornets, they got LaMelo, obviously they got the Martin, but I think there's just way too much firepower. And right now the Heat's got great rotations.
Yeah. And looking at a couple of the little notes here, the defense of the Heat, they're forcing over 15 turnovers a game.
Wow.
And drawing like 20 fouls, which general rule, when you get into the free throw line a lot, that's a good thing. Currently ranking 8th, giving up assists, to their opponents. And they are, surrendering 34.5 from beyond the arc, while they're 5th in the league in points per game allowed at 104. So defensively is what we're talking about here. So,
and that's Spoelstra's deal. Even when they had Bosch, Laurent, and all those guys, they were great defensively. So I don't see the Heat having a problem.
Yeah. So
all right. Next up is the Wizards headed to Brooklyn against the Nets. You've got the Wizards plus 4.5. That is a 4:30 game today. You've got a couple superstars, but the Nets are reeling a little bit, especially after this last trade. How do you see that one going?
Yeah, I guess again, Kyle Kuzma, is a former Laker, and he's of course on the Wizards now. And just looking at that again, like 4.5 points, I see, like you mentioned, that the Nets are struggling. They're going to be trying to break that, and you're getting 4.5 points. I just see this game a little bit closer than that. If not, again, I wouldn't be surprised if the Wizards actually upset them, a little bit here. So Washington here, win-loss record of 26-30. So on the surface, you know what I mean? It's just like, first you're just like, oh, the Nets. But, they're also not up to the Heat's level, but they're forcing in almost 12 turnovers a game, drawing about the same number of fouls, personal fouls, and ranked 3rd in the NBA and giving up assists. So the defense allowing a shooting percentage of 45.7, and they're conceding 44.9 rebounds a game as a group. So the last game that the Nets, they got a win, final 109-85, but they were facing our Kings. And those guys can be little rascals.
Yeah, we're terrible. But with that being said, with the Nets, you're at home, so you don't have Kyrie on the floor. You're not going to have KD on the floor.
Exactly.
May or may not have Ben Simmons.
They're still kind of trying to find out how to, after the trade,
How to
kind of
work with
play
their-
together, get
Well,
things
they haven't
worked
even.
out.
Simmons hasn't hit the floor. KD's been hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So he ain't going to play. He's not going to play till after the All-Star break this weekend, and he still might not even play after that. Ben Simmons, the mental health thing. I don't. There's some consternation if it's really mental health or he's making sure he's going to get paid by the Sixers.
Yeah, right.
So
That guy's something
kind of
else.
sus, but the Wizards on the other hand, you don't know what you're going to get. Like they came out to Sacramento and right after the trade deadline and they got blown out. But then other nights they're going to come and they'll take it to you. I just think at the end of the day, with the Nets being so shorthanded, I don't. It'll be probably a close game, but I think the Wizards should come out on top.
Yeah, and you're getting 4.5 points.
And that's exactly it. I mean, even if you're a Nets fan, if the Wizards get within 4.5, you still win.
Absolutely.
All right. And then finally, almost finally, probably the marquee matchup of today is the 76ers headed to Milwaukee against the Bucks. That's a 5:30 game. You've got the 76ers at +6. Any word on if Harden's playing this game or is he still out injured?
Let's see.
I don't think they've announced. I could see him.
He hasn't played the last few.
I could see them hold him out and then get through the All-Star break. But I think the matchup in that game, it's going to be fantastic.
Jonathan and Embiid.
Yeah, and Embiid's probably playing some of the best basketball he's played in his career to date. So it's going to be one of those games where, with Milwaukee at home, I don't think the Sixers will win, but I think the Sixers can cover.
Yeah, you got Harden's out. Harden's out, and Springer, the guard, is out. So, but Milwaukee has a couple players that are injured. 3 of them are out. 2 point guards, shooting guards, like the shooters. But of course, with that big guy in the middle, you may not
Everything
need
runs
people.
through him.
Exactly.
Everything runs through him.
And again, truthfully, I don't really like going against the Bucks. You know what I mean? But again, in the NBA, once you get, it seems like, right over 6 points, laying 6 points, 8 points, certainly double digits. It's just something to really be cautious about.
Yeah.
Especially when you got 2 teams of the caliber. It's one thing if like the Bucks are playing the Orlando Magic, then you're like, okay, then,
Right.
But these two, they're heavyweights.
And like
Yeah,
you
because
said-
they're, Sixers are 34-23, Bucks are 36-23, so comparable records. Again, anytime that you have a big man in the middle like the 76ers do, if he's on his game, it doesn't matter what, the MVP of the NBA is going to do. It's a tough matchup, but I'm just saying that it's kind of like that immovable force against the immovable force. You know what I mean? The 76ers have one too. So Simmons is Simmons not playing?
Simmons, no, he's
I'm sorry.
Harden.
Simmons is.
Yeah,
He's in
Harden's not playing. Curry, I was thinking about, and Curry's gone too.
Yep. So it'll be interesting. It'll be again, I think what it's going to come down to in that game specifically is who causes more turnovers.
Interesting.
It always comes down to turnovers.
Defense.
I'm not seeing anything here. 13 a game, 13.5 turnovers a game that the Bucks are forcing.
And on the other piece of that too, I'd say turnovers
Same
in the boards
on the 76ers. So they're about the same.
You got anything on rebound advantage?
Let's see. 45 relinquish. 76ers are giving up 45 boards a game as a group. And Milwaukee is, I'm not looking. It's not there. They don't have anything on that for them.
They're perfect.
Oh, there it is. They relinquish 45. So they're about the same.
Okay. So that'll be a big.
And that's where, again, like look at all these statistics. I mean, they're really right there. Their records are almost the same. All their statistics are and I'm getting 6 points, and so I'll buy the hook, get it up to 6.5, and hopefully it's going to be a close game.
That's smart money. All right. And then, you get a little bonus bet here with a 2-team parlay, Rockets against the Clippers. You've got the Clippers -11. And I assume that 2-team parlay is in conjunction with the 76ers Bucks game?
What do you mean in conjunction with it?
For the parlay. You have to win one to win the other?
Yeah, you have to. So the Clippers will have to cover 11, and the game will have to stay under 229.5, I think. So if those two things happen, then you get a 7-2 return on your money. So a $20 parlay will get you back 72, 25 get you back 90, and so on.
So what Grady's basically saying is Houston's not a very good basketball team.
Yeah, as we were talking about in the beginning. So yeah, 15-41. Of course, the Clippers are 20. They're about 500, but they've got some dogs on this team. And so anytime that this happens where you're laying double digits, as we're talking about, and then you're going under, you're basically saying that they're going to get dominated. Mm-hmm. And that's what I see. And so that's where I'm just like, okay, so let's make some more money than we normally do just doing a straight bet.
Absolutely.
Very cool. And it'll be fun to see how that plays out, next week. And if you put $2 down, how much will you win on that parlay?
You get back $7.20.
All right.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
Tank of gas.
Gallon of gas.
Maybe.
A couple of gallons. All right. That does it for the basketball talk. Now we're going to get into a little sports betting for dummies, because when it comes to the NHL, I'm about as novice as it comes. I like going to the games, but otherwise watching it on TV, it's really tough for me to do, just because I've said it before. I very much have a problem with games that can end in a 0-0 tie.
True.
Nothing exciting about it, but we're trying our hand at it. And so each of us picked a game to place our bets on. And so, G-Man, you've got the Blue Jackets against Chicago. That game is also tonight at 5:30. And then you've got that as Chicago minus 135, right?
Yeah, that's what it was this morning. It started out at 152. And let's see, what's the date on this one? Is that tonight?
Tonight, yep.
Okay, let me get my notes here. And that is, there it is.
See, I'm going Chicago.
Okay.
Just because of Wayne and Garth. That's Wayne and Garth, man.
Good old Blackhawks. Boy, that is the second Wayne's World reference of today.
Gotta go home and watch it.
Okay, so here's where the prevailing looks like Chicago's goalie, because from what I've been finding out so here's the sports betting for dummies, part that we're talking about here. So what I found out from some people that bet on hockey is that you're always going to want to find out who the goalies are, because they change up in hockey, kind of like how pitchers do in baseball. You know what I mean? And then some goalies are better than other goalies. Some are better at defense, which is where you look at things. They still have totals, with the total puck scored, total goal scored, I should say. And then I noticed, got minus 1.5, which is what's called a puck line.
Exactly.
And in baseball, it's called a run line.
Yep.
And so, where you're basically starting the game saying, we're not just going to win, but we're going to win by 2 or more. And the reason that you bet on that is because a lot of times your team is such a prohibited favorite. And what that means is that you don't really get that much return on your risk, and that prohibits you from betting. Mm-hmm. And so when you go the run line or the puck line, you're making, again, more of a statement. You don't just have to win the game. You have to win by 2 or more. But then, of course, you're getting more return on your money. So that's why you do that. So that being said, Chicago, I think, first of all, between the two teams, I think that just historically, Chicago is a better hockey team. And almost getting a little bit silly here. You know what I mean? We're getting into the mascots now. You know what I mean? I'm kind of more Native American slanted than some dude wearing a blue jacket. But it does. Their money has been going on St. Louis because it's went from 152 to 135. So they're still a favorite. They're still at home, and so I'll go with the Blackhawks.
Interesting. All right. So for me, looking at the puck line versus the money line just makes it easier to distill down. And the matchup that I picked was the Anaheim Ducks versus the Edmonton Oilers. Game is also tonight at 6 p.m. And as you had mentioned, I've got the Oilers minus 1.5 on that puck line. typically when it comes to football, because I know football so well, I'll take the stats and then there's enough of a gut reaction knowing the matchups, who the players are, what the conditions are, all of that I can make a decision based on that. Not knowing any of that extra stuff here in the NHL, it's purely based on stats. And so I went through and, Edmonton is the heavily favored team, even though they have very similar records this season. Anaheim is 23-18-9. Edmonton is 26-18-3. But in the matchups, Edmonton just on all accounts tends to be the higher playing team. Power play percentage, 25.93% versus 8.7% for Anaheim. And power play goals, they've got 7 versus 2 for Anaheim. And so that's, for me, when I watch, I think, the real difference maker is when, somebody's got a penalty and it's, an uneven number of people.
Yeah, absolutely. And lastly, to kind of bolster my pick, they have outscored. The Chicago has scored more than 20 more goals throughout the year so far than St. Louis.
And in hockey, 20 is a big number.
Or Columbus, I should say. Columbus.
Oh, yeah.
Well, watching like the Olympic hockey, the catchphrase seems to be like shots on goal. So evidently that's like a big thing, I guess.
Yeah. And then percentage there too. Chicago last game, they had like 24. They scored 3 goals with 24 shots on goal.
Into your pick or your game, just happened to be Men at Work was on last night with Emilio Estevez. So I think it was a sign to take the Ducks
there.
Yeah, I liked your pick, but I couldn't duplicate it.
Well, and the funny thing is, I moved back here from Southern California, so I've seen many Ducks games. I spent a lot of time in Denver, so Avalanche is another team you'll probably be hearing a lot in this because I don't know much about any of the other teams. So
yeah, and I of course I like the Golden Knights. I've done pretty well with them. The little times that I have bet with them over the years, over the last, they're only like 3 years old, right? Yeah.
They came out of the gate pretty hot.
Oh, shoot, they made it to the finals.
Yeah.
But if you think of hockey, though, like you think of Boston. You got some
Penguins,
Bruins,
for sure.
Rangers.
Yeah. Like that's like, you think Golden Knights, it's, I don't know.
Yeah, Tampa Bay.
Yeah. Just like hockey's like that Midwest, like East Coast, North. Tough dudes.
Yeah.
I don't really.
Hey, man, when I went to my first professional hockey game, I was blown away how I used to think I was a tough football player, and compared
Hockey
to those guys,
nope,
no way.
We went to a Sharks Blue Jackets game, and they get into a fight, and the guy like DDTs the dude in the ground and like splits his head open.
Yeah,
and I'm like going crazy, and my wife's freaking out. Like, that guy's done, and like he comes back out, and he's got like staples, and he's still playing. And I was like, oh my god, this is like the toughest human being I've ever seen in my life.
That classic one-liner, it says, I went to see a fight the other night and a hockey game broke out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a different game too. And you go to those games live, they don't, you don't get up when the puck's on the ice. I mean, you'll get beat up. People that are hardcore hockey fans, it's serious. It's a serious.
Mad respect for those athletes on the ice.
Yeah. It's an exciting environment to be in, but it's an acquired taste. I'm slowly getting there.
Yeah, for sure.
Live, it might be the best sport to watch live.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And just
on
like
TV, horrible.
And just like anything, time management wise, there's a lot to be said about being able to catch the third period. Mm-hmm. And again, they're not quarters, they're periods, so first, second, and third period, but I think it's like, again, we talked about it before, it's like soccer on ice, except it is a lot more fun to watch, and you don't have these little bitches faking getting hurt, just like,
the flops,
a yellow card or whatever they're called, so sorry if I offended some people,
but you think about it, it's soccer and baseball on ice.
Yeah. A little bit of MMA.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of time management, that does it for today's show.
It's over?
It is over.
Man,
and so
that happens fast.
If you guys have been following us for the free preview, now you get the show in its entirety for free. Again, if you want to send us a few bucks, little donation, just head over to the website at fm.phoenixmedia.us/YBYA, which now stands for You Bet Your arse.
We're going to have to get some sound effects.
It doesn't flow
Yeah.
out of the mouth the right way, but
You would do it like, you bet your arse.
Or you need like a Scottish guy like dropping it. Or something.
Oh, yeah. Let's get Conor McGregor.
Sean Connery.
Yeah.
You know,
You bet your arse.
I like it.
All right, folks. Until next week, we will see you all then.
See you.